Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be making some rye bread. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, so I made some corned beef and we have leftovers. So today I'm gonna make some sandwiches, so I need the rye bread. So let's begin. So first of all, I'm going to be measuring this out on a scale, but if you don't have a scale, I will give you the measurements in cups as well, but we're gonna try it out on a scale. I'm gonna change this to grams and then I zero it out so the bowl is at 0. And then we're gonna add 360 grams of flour, or if you don't have a scale, it's 3 cups. Got 3 grams too many, so I'm just gonna, perfect. And that was bread flour. Now I'm going to zero it out again. Okay, and then you need 60 grams or a half a cup of whole wheat flour. There we go. Perfect. This goes a little bit faster than having to measure it all out in the cups, I feel, so. Okay, and now back to 0. And you also need 60 grams or, again, a half a cup of rye flour. Okay, perfect. We're gonna take this off and we can put the scale away. And then you're gonna need a tablespoon of caraway seeds, and then a teaspoon of instant yeast, and also a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to whisk that all together so it's all combined. Okay, awesome. Now over here, I have 1 3/4 cup of warm water, and I have some molasses, and I need 3 tablespoons of molasses. Oh gosh, there we go. And we're going to dissolve it in the water first before pouring it in here, just so it doesn't become all sticky in the flour. 1, 2, and 3. I'm just gonna stir that all in so it all dissolves. And you want your water to be between 115 to 125 at most, because we don't want to kill our yeast either when we add this all in. And this is a no knead recipe, so that will be nice. Okay, so now we have that all dissolved, so we're just gonna pour it in. Awesome. And we're going to mix it all together. It's gonna be a shaggy dough. You wanna get all the flour incorporated in. You don't wanna see any of that. Okay, this is looking awesome. It is this beautiful caramely color. So now it is time to put it in a oil bowl. So I'm gonna take this, we're gonna just plop it in there. Trying to get all of the dough out of here. And go in there with some clean fingers to get off the rest of it. It is quite sticky. Okay, so right now it's looking like this. So this should rise quite a bit. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna get some plastic wrap, like so. We're gonna plop that into there on top of the dough, just like so. So it's looking like this, and you're gonna wanna put it in somewhere that's warm and draft free. So I'm going to be putting it in my oven. I let it warm up a tiny bit. It's not hot by any means, but it is warm now. So we're gonna set it in there, and it needs to stay in there for 3 hours to let it rise. So it's gonna take quite a bit of time. This recipe will probably take around 5 to 6 hours in total, but it should be delicious. So I will see you in 3 hours. Okay, it is 3 hours later, so it is time to get the bread out of my oven and get the oven preheating. So here is the bread, and ooh, yes, it is yeasty. You can definitely tell it has risen, probably doubled in size, I would say. Here's what it's looking like right now. And then we're going to preheat the oven to 450 degrees. And while that is preheating, we're gonna put our Dutch oven in there so it will preheat with it. I'm gonna put down the rack 1 level. There we go. So that's ready to go. Now you have to have a clean surface for this, and we are going to take some flour. I'm gonna use the whole wheat, but you can use whatever of the ones that you were just using, and lightly pat it around. Then I'm gonna take this part off. Stuck a little, but not too bad. And then we're going to take out our bread. I'm going to slightly oil my hand because I do not have one of those bread scrapers. Get a little bit. We're just gonna dump this out onto our flour. Okay, awesome. And then what we're gonna wanna do is pick some up and fold it in half. So we're not really kneading it, and then what we're gonna do is kind of roll it into a ball, and then we're gonna take the seam side down on a piece of parchment paper I had already cut out. Then we're gonna plop it into another bowl. And now we're gonna let this rest and rise for another around 30 minutes while the Dutch oven is preheating, and then we're gonna plop it into the Dutch oven. Okay, it has been about 40 minutes, so I am going to score this bread real quickly, and then we're gonna put it into the Dutch oven. Now, I don't have like a razor or anything to score it with like a bread knife, so I'm just gonna use a paring knife, and we're just gonna slice across the top. Doesn't do it that neatly, but it's something. So the bread did about double in size since putting it back in there, so that's a good sign. And we are going to take the Dutch oven out. Pop the slit open. Yeah, it's nice and hot in there. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take the four corners of our parchment paper, lift the bread up, and just plop it in there, just like so. And then we're gonna put the lid back on. Then it goes back in the oven, and it will stay that way for 30 minutes. And then in 30 minutes, I'll take the lid off and put it in for about 8 to 10 more minutes. So I'll see you then. It has been a half hour, so I'm going to take it out of the oven. Then we're gonna take it off. Ooh, it's looking nice. It's actually looking already pretty golden brown and crispy. Show you up close what it's looking like. There we go. So I think I'm just gonna put it in for 8 more minutes because I don't want it to burn or anything. So let's get it back in there. See you in 8 minutes. Okay, it has been 8 minutes, so it is time to take it out of the oven. This is looking fantastic. This is what we're working with. And now we need to get it out of the Dutch oven. So we're gonna take it up. We can get it off of our parchment paper. And there we have it, a beautiful loaf. It did get pretty big towards the center, so that will make a nice sandwich. And I'm very happy with how this turned out. So I'm gonna let it cool off completely, and then we'll give it a taste test, and then we're gonna make a sandwich with it as well. Okay, our bread is all cool, and it is time to assemble our sandwich. So let's get this all sliced up and get to assembling our sandwiches. First of all, let's cut it open and see what the crumb is looking like on the inside. Ooh, that is looking fantastic. Has a lot of the bubbles from the yeast. Has a nice bouncy texture when you press on it. So first thing I'm gonna do is just try the bread alone. So I'm gonna put a little bit of butter. The outside is harder, but it's not like super crunchy. If I put it in for a little bit longer, it may have got a little more crunchy, but I feel like the bottom would have burnt, so, okay. It's very good. It has a wonderful texture. It is nice and bouncy, which is nice. And you can definitely taste the rye, and the caraway seed really stands out in this bread too. So it is delicious. So I'm very excited. Get our sandwiches put together and try them out with it. So I'm gonna set that aside while I cut up a few more slices. Never been great at cutting slices of bread evenly. They always seem to go a little wonky. It wasn't too bad. Okay, so assembling. This is like really smoky. It's preheating, but I think it's done preheating, so I'm gonna leave it open so hopefully the smoke doesn't keep going. I don't see anything on it, so it's not like anything's burning from it. First, I made some Thousand Island, so we're gonna put that on there first. This was just mayo, some ketchup, a little bit of Dijon, some onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and some chopped up pickles. Or if you have relish, you can use that as well. That'll probably be easier. Or if you just have the Thousand Island, that's store-bought. Okay, and then I have some sliced up corned beef that we made yesterday. And then for cheese, I'm going to be using some Swiss cheese. That should melt nicely. Get that closed. Trying to get all the cheese in there so it doesn't burn onto our grill. Me cooking it like it's a panini. Awesome, and now it is time to butter both sides. This grill's making a lot of noise. This is my first time using it. My grandma gave it to me. She was no longer using it, but let's get this on there, like so, and then we're gonna quickly butter the other side. This way it makes a little bit less of a mess on my cutting board. Okay, awesome. And now we wait. This is almost done. Okay, this is looking good. So we're gonna take it off. Come on. Just like so. Then we're gonna cut it in half. Then we're gonna give it a second to cool down because it is very hot right now. Okay, it is all ready, so let's give it a try. This is fantastic. All the flavors work together wonderfully with the corned beef, and the Swiss cheese on top of this bread is so good. The bread turned out wonderfully, and with it grilling in here, it gave it a great crunchy texture. Yum. This is a great way to use your leftover corned beef, or anytime you just need rye bread, this is a fantastic recipe for that. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.